President Biden is ordering a review of U.S. Cuba policies, looking into ways to help the Cuban people, but they will also make sure that the money sent to Cuba does not end up in the regime's hands. This comes as the U.S. is also actively pursuing measures to hold the Cuban regime accountable for violence, repression, and human rights violations. Ben & Jerry's is getting the cold shoulder from some grocery stores in the U.S. That's after the ice cream brand announced Monday they wouldn't renew their license in Israel. And Amazon founder Jeff Bezos became the second billionaire this month to take a tour in outer space. But back on Earth, Bezos got blasted for his post-flight remarks. Tune into Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. President Biden is ordering a review of U.S. Cuba policies, including taking a look at remittances, money sent to people there.
We will form a remittances working group to identify the most effective ways to get remittances, this is important, directly into the hands of the Cuban people. Beyond that, we are also reviewing our plans to augment staffing at our embassy in Havana.
The move comes after anti-government protests exploded across the island earlier this month. A number of people were hurt and hundreds reportedly detained. Tuesday, a State Department spokesman addressed measures being taken to support the Cuban people.
We're going to, as we explore this issue, make sure that we are doing everything we can to see to it that those proceeds go to the Cuban people and that they do not go into the regime's coffers. Again, this is a regime that has denied its people of resources and of rights. And I think we have seen that come to the fore in Cuba in recent days.
The United States is also actively pursuing measures to hold the Cuban regime accountable for violence, repression, and human rights violations.
When it comes to the other side of the equation, holding the regime accountable, the Treasury, specifically via their Office of Foreign Assets Control, will continue to explore designating Cuban officials who are responsible for what we have seen, namely the violence, the repression, the human rights violations, again, against these peaceful protesters in Cuba who were and are doing nothing more than exercising their universal rights.
This comes as several U.S. lawmakers urged the Biden administration on Tuesday to take immediate actions to support the Cuban people, including getting them internet access and imposing sanctions on perpetrators of human rights violations.
However, I believe we can still do much more to address this issue by working with private companies and civil society to expand internet access to help Cubans use the VPN and other circumvention tools.
Since July 11th, mass protests have been taking place across the island, and thousands of people were taken to the streets, protesting against the communist regime. It comes amid food and medicine shortages, an economic crisis, and the pandemic. Protesters are asking for liberty and freedom. The regime responded by cutting off the internet and telephone services and sending police and Communist Party militants to take back control of cities and towns. It was estimated that Cuban police have arrested 500 demonstrators and activists. They have been prosecuted and some are facing legal charges.
The U.S. should apply individual sanctions, making full use of the Global Magnitsky Act, targeting top officials and individuals involved in human rights abuses.
The Biden administration has been criticized for doing too little for the Cuban people. On Monday, Fox News quoted a senior U.S. official saying that President Biden is considering increasing staff at the U.S. Embassy in Havana and forming a team to deliver remittances to the Cuban people. Now, let's talk about when ice cream gets political. Ben & Jerry's is getting the cold shoulder from some grocery stores in the U.S. Several kosher grocery stores have decided to pull Ben & Jerry's from their shelves. That's after the company announced it would stop doing business with a licensee in Israel that sells ice cream in Israeli-occupied Palestinian territories. The Israeli settlements in the West Bank are considered illegal under international law. Ben & Jerry's announced Monday they wouldn't renew their license in Israel, saying in a statement, "We believe it is inconsistent with our values for Ben & Jerry's ice cream to be sold in the occupied Palestinian territory." But the company says its ice cream will still be sold in Israel, just, quote, through a different arrangement. Israeli politicians aren't happy about it. Israel's prime minister got on the phone with Ben & Jerry's owner, food giant Unilever. He told the company there would be, quote, serious consequences, legal and otherwise. He went on to accuse the ice cream brand and the parent company Unilever of taking a, quote, clearly anti-Israel step, adding he was going to act aggressively against the decision. And former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tweeted out, "Now we Israelis know which ice cream not to buy." Critics have called Ben & Jerry's decision anti-Semitic and have pushed for the company to reverse the move. Under Unilever, Ben & Jerry's has been given free rein to speak about several social issues. The ice cream company has been outspoken about Occupy Wall Street and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. Unilever issued a statement doubling down on Ben & Jerry's right to, quote, take decisions about its social mission. And now for some updates. On the heels of President Biden criticizing social media companies for not doing more to stop the spread of vaccine misinformation, YouTube says it's taking action. Starting this week, it will start labeling health videos with information on how authoritative the source is. The company made the announcement Monday. It says beneath certain videos about health, they will add information panels that will alert viewers if the source is, quote, authoritative. YouTube says the aim is to help people more easily navigate and evaluate credible health information. An official from the company says YouTube, quote, has the potential to be a transformative tool for public health and can positively impact communities at scale. And Instagram is now letting users control how much sensitive content they see. On Tuesday, the social media platform launched a new tool called Sensitive Content Control. It gives users the option of filtering potentially objectionable content in the app's Explore feed. In a press release, Instagram said sensitive content includes material that doesn't necessarily break the rules, but could potentially be upsetting to some people, like posts that may be sexually suggestive or violent. The new tool comes as Instagram and other social networks are trying to address concerns about content moderation and the well-being of users. And now, before we end, Jeff Bezos might have reached outer space, but back on Earth, he's getting blasted for some of his remarks. Bezos had some words of gratitude post-flight.
I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer, because you guys paid for all of this.
Despite the laughter, Bezos didn't appear to catch onto the irony in what he said.
Seriously, for every Amazon customer out there and every Amazon employee, thank you from the bottom of my heart very much.
But some Democrat politicians jumped at the chance to roast him for it. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted out, yes, Amazon workers did pay for this, with lower wages, union busting, and frenzied and inhumane workplace, and delivery drivers not having health insurance during a pandemic. And Amazon customers are paying for it with Amazon abusing their market power to hurt small business. Media personality Conan O'Brien tweeted out, Jeff Bezos is charging someone $28 million for 11 minutes in space, which sounds just about right for the owner of Whole Foods. Senator Elizabeth Warren accused Bezos of not paying any taxes, saying Jeff Bezos forgot to thank all the hardworking Americans who actually pay taxes to keep this country running, while he and Amazon paid nothing. Representative Errol Blumenauer used the occasion to introduce a bill to tax space tourism, saying space travel isn't a tax-free holiday for the wealthy. We pay taxes on plane tickets. Billionaires flying into space, producing no scientific value, should do the same. He added the hashtag space tax. Under the measure, each passenger would be taxed on the price of the commercial space flight, as well as 2 levels of excise tax for each launch into space. Those taxes would be for flights between 50 to 80 miles above Earth's surface, and the second level would be for flights beyond 80 miles above Earth's surface, and would be, quote, a significantly higher rate. Blumenauer says space flights account for 60 times more carbon emissions than transatlantic flights on a per-passenger basis. Bezos became the second billionaire to visit space this month, 9 days after Richard Branson. Bezos' venture reached an altitude of 66 miles, 10 miles higher than Branson's. The 2 flights represent a new frontier in space tourism. Swiss bank UBS predicts that in a decade, it will be a $3 billion a year industry. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and see you soon.